I've been long concerned about the direction of New York City. And New York City is such an amazing city. Like globally, if you were to rank the greatest cities on the planet, I'm biased, I would want New York to be competing for the title of number one on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to work with to be able to hit it. It's not some pipe dream.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. And now when Rudy Giuliani was elected in 1993 as mayor, a lot of people had given up on New York City. They'd given up on it financially, as far as crime and public safety. A lot of people thought New York City was lost. And it was amazing how quickly it was able to turn. And unfortunately, in this moment for New York City, while they have this great opportunity to turn things around in a very positive way, they're leaving so many opportunities off the table. I remember when Bill de Blasio got elected mayor in 2013. I was in New York State Senate at the time. And he ran on a campaign of raise taxes on the wealthy and universal childhood pre-K. And he was going to raise taxes on the wealthy in order to pay for universal childhood pre-K. Now he gets elected. He's sworn in. It's January of 2014. He's going to Albany. He wants his money. He wants his tax increase. Well, I kind of saw this coming from a mile away. What the state legislature under then Governor Andrew Cuomo ended up doing was coming up with the money to provide universal childhood pre-K, money that New York City was looking for. When Andrew Cuomo broke the news to de Blasio, at least this is the story as Cuomo told a few of us, when Cuomo broke the news to de Blasio, hey, great news, we have your money for universal childhood pre-K. The answer, I'm told, is that de Blasio says that's not good enough. He wanted his tax increase. Now, if you think about what does that mean? That means that the tax increase was tapping into the resentment that some voters have towards success, that they wanted a punitive measure. They wanted to punish the wealthy. And it doesn't matter where the money was going to go, because in this case, the money was going to go for universal childhood pre-K. If there was a way to pay for universal childhood pre-K without a tax increase, they still want their tax increase. Well, that was 12 years ago. And it's not like New York City has learned all of its lessons along the way, because every time you hit that breaking point for one more New Yorker, especially now that they're more mobile than ever and post-COVID, a lot of these billionaires are leaving New York City for good. And many are bringing their businesses with them. And they're not putting New York City in timeout. They're not saying, hey, if you don't get this right in the next 6 months, then I might not come back. Or if you don't, I'm going to give you 5 years to fix it. If you fix it, I'll come back. These people are gone.
Yeah.
And they pay a lot of money in taxes. So New York City has not been heading in the right direction. And right now, unfortunately, it looks like they are not determined to say to themselves that they've hit rock bottom and they want to build back up. Because we're having this conversation here inside of the EPA headquarters, and as administrator of EPA, I am choosing my words carefully because I understand what I'm allowed to speak about and not. So there's some very candid thoughts for maybe not having this hat on and not being inside of this building. All I would say to American voters, whether you're in New York City, New York State, or anywhere else in America, is this is a reminder how important it is to participate in the process, to get informed, to make your vote count. And, I remember when I was on active duty, I was in Fort Bragg, I was a paratrooper, and you had a moment where you had to jump out of that plane. At that moment, and if you don't get out with a proper handoff of your static line and the jump master, someone's going to get hurt. And it's probably not going to be you, by the way. It's going to be the person behind you or someone who's trying to get out the door on the other side of the plane. There is a reliance by Americans who care that other Americans are going to participate. And you're really not just letting yourselves down and your family down and your community down when you sit it out. But this is maybe the greatest right, privilege, honor about being able to live in a country like the United States is cast when you have that moment to speak your voice through your vote and to get informed. And it's just really frustrating as an American, as a New Yorker, as a military veteran to see people sit these out. And we really need more people to participate.
And now I think what a lot of people wouldn't know about you is that you were a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne. I guess What similarity is there between parachuting into a war zone in Iraq, where you were on deployment back in 2006, and parachuting into the EPA as a Republican among Democrats?
I would say that a lot of the leadership traits that I learned in the military relate to leadership experience outside of the military. And, I came into this agency with 15, 16,000 employees. The number is less now than it was when we came in. We've terminated some probationary employees. We had voluntary early retirement, fork in the road. There are reductions in force and reorganizations. Operationally, there's a lot that we've been doing to try to right size the agency. And with all due respect to every single amazing employee, whether it's here or anywhere else in government, anywhere, my goal here at EPA is that we don't have one more person than what we need in order to fulfill all our statutory obligations and fulfill our core mission and power the great American comeback. A lot of what I learned inside of the military relates here. I wore around my dog tags, 7 Army values. The acronyms: leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. I have had an opportunity to see a lot of different types of leaders and traits that you admire or not. For one, I very much value consistency. It's important to be able to communicate, to have respect, to solicit feedback up and down the ranks. Some of the best ideas we've gotten for cost savings have come from some of the most junior members of the agency. And I remember as a junior officer at the Department of Defense, I probably had some of the best ideas, and my peers had some of the best ideas about how the Department of Defense can save money. So there's a lot, I think, that does cross over between the military experience and training.
So you went into the ROTC quite early, didn't you? Tell us why.
That was the only thing that I knew for sure when I was showing up at college, was that I needed to go find the ROTC table and sign up right away. And I still remember the first time I put on the uniform and put on those boots, and I'm looking in the mirror. I had to pinch myself. And I instantly was thinking about the greatest generation. That generation has always fascinated me. For me, I was born in 1980, and it was my grandparents' generation at the time. And many of them were still around sharing their stories. And I loved being around them and just the amount of combat and experience that they had to live through to try to wear the same boots that they wore, to try to challenge myself to wear the same uniform that they wore, was just the coolest challenge in life. I mean, there's nothing that I could possibly do in my life that can compare to trying to wear that same uniform that they wore. And I remember looking at that Army patch, smiling back at me in the mirror. And I knew that was the right decision. The ROTC program was really good in helping identify strengths and weaknesses. And you get a lot of different leadership advice from people you come across. I remember when I was a young ROTC cadet, a few of us were speaking to the staff sergeant, looking for advice. Okay, we're a young platoon leader, and we have a bunch of young privates and specialists and corporals, and we want to know how to lead them. Give us advice. And he thought about it for a second, and he said, drive a nice car, chew tobacco, smoke them on their PT test. And we're like, they're writing notes like, this is just some brilliant advice that we're getting. Okay, got it. We'll do these 3 things. We'll be great platoon leaders. When I got on active duty, I had a 3 principled lesson passed off to me that I think was a little bit more helpful, with all due respect to that staff sergeant. It came from a Colonel, David Petraeus, at the time. Wow. Work hard, play hard, take care of your people, love the one you're with. And the captain who's in charge of our class, this was the Military Intelligence Officer Basic Course at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. He helped us during the 4, 5 and a half months, whatever it was, of that training course, to understand what each of those 3 really meant, to appreciate it, to help us more deeply understand what those 7 Army values mean, and to help develop our own individual leadership style and to make us stronger. And
And the context was September 11, 2001. I mean, you were 21 years old.
So I was in ROTC at the time. I was in law school. And I wasn't commissioned until I graduated law school in May of 2003. So I had to wait almost 2 years. And I remember having a tremendous amount of guilt that I couldn't just I had to wait until I was commissioned.
Right.
And I remember as soon as I got on active duty and I was at Fort Huachuca going through this military intelligence basic course, and I just wanted to deploy. And I remember when I got called into an office, the deputy staff judge advocate of Fort Huachuca just telling me that I'm getting switched over to, at my request, and he was a former 82nd Airborne Division paratrooper, that I was getting switched over to the 82nd Airborne Division. And I just couldn't wait to go. And I was at division headquarters and I was at 2nd Brigade and I deployed with one of the battalions of 2nd Brigade. And it's a generational thing. I mean, I'm 45 years old, so just about half of my life is pre 9/11. Just about half of my life is post 9/11. Basically, my entire adult life is post 9/11, and it's all that I've known. And I would say it's informed the way that my mind is wrapped around foreign policy, the way to measure national instruments of power, to make sure and understand that we are making the right decisions and how that's utilized. I've spent a lot of time analyzing military strategy, and it's amazing how much of that life experience can relate to being a leader in something that has nothing to do with the military. And I feel like I could, go out and do, 100 other jobs that have nothing to do with the military, that have nothing to do with national defense, Homeland Security, and to be able to apply these lessons. But 9/11, especially as a New Yorker,
yes,
it left an impression that changed my life. It changed the world.
You were jumping out of airplanes with the parachute on. Just describe that feeling. I mean, that takes a lot of personal, physical courage, I guess, just to make that initial leap.
So
what was the first one like?
I'll share a story. That is such a great question that no one's ever asked me.
Right.
And I was at Fort Benning, Georgia. It's my first jump out of an airplane. And there's 10 of us in the stick. And I was the 10th person to go out. And I get out the plane. And I have no idea what's about to happen.
Right.
I mean,
were you scared?
I had an idea. I had so many emotions.
Right.
I don't even know which one, I would say ruled the day to answer. Is like, this is the emotion that wins. I think I was experiencing every emotion. Right. But it's quite possible that excitement might have been overpowering fear.
Being a boy. Yeah.
But it was a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
So I get out of the plane, parachute opens. It's a good sign. Cause that was the first thing, was just getting to that point where the parachute's open, and then I could kind of look around, look down. First thing I wanted to look up and just make sure no holes. We're good. So chute's open. I look down and I see the other 9 way below me, and they're starting to land on the drop zone. And I look straight ahead and I see the plane at altitude. And then I look down again and the drop zone is over here, and I am going over the trees.
Oh.
And apparently there was some type of like a heat pocket, or there's something in the chute that was preventing the chute from allowing me to drop. Instead, I'm just maintaining altitude. So I have 4 risers. What I had to do was collapse my chute.
Oh.
It's my first jump.
Wow.
I have to collapse one of my chutes, one of my risers.
Did you know? You figured that out yourself?
Well, they did say that if you have to move with the chute, if you collapse a riser, you will go, and it'll be a brief free fall, and you'll go in that direction of where you collapse the chute. So I pick the riser that is closest to the drop zone, and I collapse it, and then I lift it up. And I look down, I'm still over the trees, but I'm closer. I had to collapse it 3 times.
Wow.
And eventually I'm over the drop zone. I land, and I remember the jump master yelling, like, "What took you so long?" Because like the rest of the stick, like their chute was all packed. They were all, it was like, where the heck did the 10th guy go? And I was outranked by the private. I was an ROTC cadet at Fort Benning,
How
Georgia.
old were you?
I was 20. This is 2000. So I survived my first jump, but that was my experience. And I remember my last jump when I was at Fort Bragg. It was a beautiful North Carolina night. It was a night jump, and we were landing with equipment. So you drop the pouch. It was a soft pouch, and it would land maybe 20 feet away from you. Well, that night I did a rear parachute landing fall. When you do a parachute landing fall, you could go in a bunch of different directions, just depending on which way you're dropping. In this case, I'm going backwards, so I do a rear parachute landing fall, which is fine.
Like walking backwards as you land.
Falling backwards, yeah.
Right.
And it's the base of your feet, your calf. It's the top of your leg, your butt, it's just under your armpit, and you do a fall that you train to do, which is a safe way to land. Because this chute is designed not to land standing up. This chute is designed to get you down as quickly as possible without killing yourself.
Right.
And the way I ended up landing, going backwards, my head hits my pack, which is fine. It was a soft pack.
Right.
And I'm on my back. And it was just this perfect North Carolina night. And I'm looking up at the stars. And I knew it was my last jump on active duty. And I said to myself, I don't know if I'm ever going to jump out of an airplane ever again. I had seen so many other people have bad encounters. I don't want to say anything that would talk anyone out of joining as a paratrooper. It was a great experience, and I would sign up again. I'm crazy enough to do that again. But I was really happy that I didn't suffer any bad injuries like some of the others had gone through. But I remember when I hit that drop zone that night. And at that point, now I'm married with 2 kids.
Right. Changes your perspective.
Yeah, my perspective changed. When you're single as a 20-year-old going out the back of a plane, nothing about it makes any sense, but you're not overthinking it.
Yeah.
When you're married with kids and you're walking out the plane, you're like, okay, Diana, Michaela, Ariana, Diana, Michaela, Ariana, and then you head off a jump master and then jump out of the plane. We've done it with foreign countries, so they're like giving me orders. I don't even know what language they're talking. I'm just following the person in front of me, or jumping out of a Black Hawk where you're sitting there in a door, and they tap the back of your helmet. And as a New Yorker, we'd want to turn around and give them a hard time, like, who you hitting?
Yeah.
But instead, in that situation, they tap you in the back of the helmet. It's like, okay, and you push yourself off the side. It doesn't make much sense. But it was a really enjoyable experience, and I love the military. Because I had just retired a couple months ago,
right?
And
because you were in reserves.
I did active duty 03 to 07, reserves since 07. So I was at the military parade that was here in the Capitol, celebrate the Army's 250th birthday, which was also Flag Day, which was also President Trump's birthday, but it was the 250th birthday of the United States Army. And I'm coming off of the grandstand with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and I turned to Pete. I said, Pete, that was awesome. I regret getting out of the military. Sign me back up. And he looks at me and he's dead serious. He's like, I could change that. I could get you right back in. And I was like, okay. And then we just kept walking. I didn't run with it just there because I think I was happy. It was about time for me to retire after 22 years. But in a brief moment there during that great military parade in Washington,
that
D.C.,
was an awesome parade.
I was ready to sign back up.
Now, you were in Iraq and you were doing some pretty heavy duty beating down doors and so on. Tell us a little about that.
So I was in Iraq. I got there summer of 2006. This was a
just
rough
before
time
the surge.
pre-surge.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you remember the situation there in 06. Every day we'd have the battle update brief, and there'd be a map of Iraq on the board, and there'd be a red dot for every instance of rape, murder, intimidation that was reported for that day. And at that point, this map of Iraq every day for every battle update brief was loaded up with red dots. It was a rough time. Our unit, so it was an infantry battalion from the 82nd doing a very heavy detainee ops mission. And we were getting sent into areas where the U.S. military hadn't been in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go after high value targets. And in some cases, it would be like a CSI Miami mission where you're showing up at a village, you're going for a person, but you don't want to just leave with the person. You also want to collect as much evidence. And that evidence might include a SIM card from a cell phone, which is being hidden inside of the bra of the sister-in-law.
Wow.
And, this infantry battalion, which is, they're trained to kick down doors.
Yeah.
Now have to learn a lot about culture. How do you conduct those searches? There's a difference between palms in and palms out. There's a difference between, having them lie on the ground or, allowing them to sit or stand, and like how you interact. And if you're searching that female, to do it in the presence of a senior male member of the household. And so part of my mission was with regards to that advice, just like
because you were JAG at that point. You're a lawyer.
And the detainee ops mission. So I was a legal advisor for this battalion, and helping with the evidence collection, because if you grab someone but you just send them up without any of the evidence, then they might end up having to get released pretty quickly. It's the evidence that would allow us to keep that person in detainment. And then also at times there were our service members who were killed on operations or seriously wounded. And there would be an Article 15-6 investigation that would be done, which is really important for the military, lessons learned, but most importantly, in my opinion, for closure for the families, so that they know what happened to their loved one who had passed away. And we were there pre-surge, and things really changed once, General Petraeus was put in charge. The surge strategy, in my opinion, worked.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the way that the final exit was pulled off by President Obama was filled with mistakes. And there's plenty to criticize of mistakes throughout this entire timeline. But it ended up leading us to having to put more troops back into Iraq.